You're at a networking event, the name tags are on, the drinks are poured, and the first question everyone tends to ask is, what do you do? It's the default opener, the safest question in the room, and most of us answer without hesitation. Director of Supply Chain, Manager of Operational Excellence, VP of Operations, COO. It rolls off the tongue because we've said it so many times, because we've practiced it. Because somewhere along the way, that answer became automatic, like driving a car. But here's the question we rarely stop to ask, the one hiding underneath the title. Who are you? When the title changes, when the company restructures, when the role evolves, when the job drains instead of energizing you, when success stops feeling like success, if that question made you feel uncomfortable, that's a signal, not a fear, not a weakness, clarity. And today we're going to listen to it. Today we're doing the 2026 Identity Audit. Not to burn down your career, not to throw away everything you've built, but to make sure your identity is bigger than any role you'll ever hold. Because careers change, industries shift, titles expire, and if your sense of self is welded to your job description, every change feels like a threat instead of an evolution. I'm your host, Renee Frey, America's career strategist and your ultimate hype woman when it comes to building a career and life you actually love. Every week, I pull back the curtain on what really drives career growth and fulfillment, the mindset shifts, the strategies, and the truth-telling pep talks that you need to hear. Because if you're going to spend 1/3 of your life working, you deserve to work happy. Whether you're new here or a longtime listener, I am so glad you're here. Let's get intentional, let's get inspired, and let's grow together. Somewhere along the way, work stopped being something we do and quietly became who we are. We're taught to tie our worth to output, to productivity, to promotions, to title and performance reviews. We were taught that being driven was admirable, that being busy meant we mattered, that wanting more meant we should push harder. And here's the problem no one names. When your identity lives entirely inside your role, everything starts to feel personal. A bad review doesn't feel like feedback. It feels like a verdict. A layoff doesn't feel like a business decision. It feels like an erasure. Wanting something different doesn't feel exciting. It feels ungrateful. That's not ambition. That's fragility. And most people don't realize it's happening until the role cracks, until the job changes, until the title no longer protects them the way it used to. And I know this because I've lived it. When I first started Talent Q, I didn't just build a company. I became the company. My identity was so tightly wrapped around the business, there was no separation between what I built and who I was. If Talent Q was winning, I was winning. If Talent Q was struggling, I felt like I was struggling. Every decision felt personal. Every challenge felt like a referendum on my worth. I did not realize how dangerous that was at the time. I told myself, it's commitment. I told myself it's leadership. I told myself that's what successful founders do. But the truth is, I didn't have an identity outside the business. And then I read The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, and one idea stopped me cold. The business is its own entity. It has systems. It has roles. It has functions. It has a life of its own. And I am not the business. I am Renee Frey, the person with values, with relationships, with a body that needs rest, with a life that exists outside of work. Talent Q can evolve, it can grow, it can struggle, it can change, and I don't have to collapse alongside it. That distinction changed everything. Not how hard I worked, but how I carried the work. It allowed me to lead with more clarity, more resilience, and far less fear. Because when your identity isn't fused to your role, you can make cleaner decisions, braver decisions, longer-term strategic decisions. You stop protecting the title and you start protecting the person. And that one shift happens, the questions change. So instead of asking, how do I push harder next year? How do I optimize myself even more? The better question is, who am I becoming while I'm doing all of this? That's where the audit begins. And here's the truth. Most high performers skip. You can't create direction until you understand your starting point. Most people rush straight to goals. High achiever, goal-driven, new role, more money, fresh start, clean slate. But if you never pause to examine what drained you, what sustained you, what energized you, and what kept you repeating, you don't actually create change. You recreate the same year in a different outfit. Reflection isn't weakness, it's strategy. And telling the truth about what knocked you down, what disappointed you, what exhausted you, what slowly chipped away at you, isn't being dramatic. It's being self-aware. And awareness always starts. That's where change always starts. So let's move from insight to action. And this isn't journaling, this is data collection. You're not trying to sound poetic, you're trying to be honest. So grab a notebook, open a document on your computer. Of course, if you're not driving, pull up your calendar, your camera roll, because you might need help reflecting back on the year. And let's begin. What drained you this past year? Write it down. Not what annoyed you once, not what was mildly inconvenient, not what you think you should tolerate because that's just work. No, what consistently depleted you? Certain meetings, certain people, certain expectations, certain roles you've outgrown but you're still carrying. If something drains you over and over, it's information, not failure. Energy loss is often the first sign that your identity and your environment are no longer aligned. And ignoring that signal is how burnout sneaks up quietly. Now answer this. What gave you energy, even in small moments? Not the big wins, not the highlight reel, not the moments you posted about, the quiet moments. When did you feel calm, clear, present, more like yourself? Your identity leaves clues in what restores you. Anything that brings you back to yourself is worth paying attention to, even if it feels small, impractical, or unrelated to your job. Now answer this. What kept repeating? The same stress, the same tension, the same conflict, the same pattern of over-responsibility or over-functioning. Patterns reveal identity defaults. If the same dynamic keeps showing up, it's not bad luck. It's a belief or role that you're unconsciously reenacting. How do people experience you at your best? Not your title, not your resume, not your deliverables. When are you at your best? Are you the stabilizer, the decision maker, the connector, the calm presence in chaos? See, your values travel with you. Titles don't. And once you understand that, the question becomes unavoidable. What are you no longer willing to sacrifice? Time, health, integrity, relationships, freedom, presence. Values aren't motivational quotes. They're boundaries. And if your success requires you to violate your values, it will never feel sustainable and it will never feel satisfying. And finally, what version of yourself are you done being? Done proving, done tolerating, done overperforming, done postponing your life for a future that keeps moving? Identity shifts don't start with addition. They start with subtraction. And one of the easiest ways to see this clearly is to zoom out. Think about identity like an investment portfolio. Putting everything into one asset is risky. Your job is one asset, not the whole portfolio. Your curiosity matters. Your relationships matter. Your contribution matters. Your values matter. And when work is heavy, life shouldn't collapse. That's resilience, and that's real leadership. But insight without action changes nothing. So here's what you got to do. Pick one thing from your audit that you are now aware of. Just one. Something to stop tolerating, something to protect, something to reclaim. You don't need a reinvention. You don't need a dramatic overhaul. You need alignment. Small, intentional shifts create more lasting change than big emotional declarations. Your job is part of your story, but it was never meant to be the whole book. You are more than productive, more than impressive, more than useful. You are layered. You are evolving. You are allowed to outgrow titles. The 2026 Identity Audit is a reminder. Your worth isn't earned through output. It's clarified through intention. So let me ask you, what did you rediscover about yourself from this episode? Drop it in the comments. Until next time, stay conscious, stay inspired, and keep building the career and life you love. See you next time. Cheers.